Approaching the 11th round of the 2025 Formula One Championship, the Austrian Grand Prix, we have discussed in the last few days how Ferrari will need to adapt to the 4.318-kilometer Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. The Maranello team's technicians and engineers face several challenges to make the weekend successful and avoid mistakes like those in Canada. As always, the focus is on optimizing the SF-25's performance, with particular attention to two key factors: the upcoming floor upgrade and lift and coast management. Ferrari has meticulously studied the setup to find a more effective balance between mechanical grip and aerodynamics. Tire management remains crucial within this equation to achieve the right performance. Since June 5th, when the news first broke, the Maranello team has been working to bring a new version of the floor, described as a preparatory update. This element will become even more useful when further car adjustments are introduced from the British Grand Prix onward. This is the second floor specification after the one launched in Bahrain. It will be interesting to see where the modifications are focused to better understand the real issues affecting the SF-25. Changes could include updates to the sharp edge area. This area is critical for sealing the airflow beneath the F1 car. Similarly, work is underway to desensitize the floor, potentially allowing a wider aerodynamic map. It is important to remember that the downforce generated by this major component varies depending on different conditions, as it does not produce consistent downforce levels in every driving situation. Downforce depends on speed and especially on the roll, yaw, and pitch angles, the three rotations the car experiences on track. The vertical load also varies based on the combination of these factors. Ferrari currently has a lower maximum downforce compared to cars like Red Bull and McLaren, lacking support both at low and high speeds. Part of this deficit likely stems from Ferrari's different suspension stiffness philosophy. The new floor specification should help expand the operating window where the SF-25 performs well. However, it is not a miracle fix, which is why the team has been cautious about promoting this update openly. Some problems can be solved with aerodynamic upgrades and better understanding, while others will unfortunately persist for now, considering the general characteristics of the SF-25 single-seater. With the extra downforce from the new Ferrari floor, the Maranello team can optimize cornering speed on faster sections, potentially finding a more efficient compromise setup. Everything depends on the impact of this correction. If it delivers the expected results, the historic Italian side could redefine the operating window of the prancing horse's car. We will wait and see. The 2025 Formula One season has so far proven to be a particularly complex testing ground for Ferrari. One other major issue for the Maranello team is why lift and coast problems exist and how to reduce them in Austria. In recent F1 races, the Italian car has often been hampered by a clear necessity to perform constant lift and coast throughout stints. For various reasons, Ferrari is sometimes forced into this practice. In the Canadian Grand Prix, brake temperature issues contributed, also due to excessive brake use to slow the car down. However, this strategy was present in previous rounds of the 2025 Formula One season. While radio instructions for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton aimed to keep internal power unit temperatures in the correct range, the move also helped limit wear on the skid block located under the floor. This area led to the disqualification of car number 44 in the Chinese Grand Prix at the Shanghai International Circuit. Lift and coast means lifting off the throttle at the end of straights and coasting, without pressing accelerator or brake. This approach becomes problematic if used for many laps. In Austria, the Ferrari engineers and technicians plan to introduce some subtle updates to correct this issue. They will also adjust the setup, and the new Ferrari floor could potentially help reduce this headache. This technique, which involves lifting off the throttle early before braking to save fuel or cool the hybrid system, compromises the car's effectiveness in key race moments. The problem becomes even more pronounced when the car is theoretically in ideal conditions to perform, such as in qualifying or the final laps of a race with a light fuel load, but is unable to unleash its full potential due to the need to conserve energy or manage critical temperatures. In Spain, for example, Charles Leclerc was specifically asked to lift off the throttle in order to preserve skid block wear, a major issue Ferrari has faced since the start of the season, which even led to a disqualification in China. In Canada, on the other hand, the frequent lift and coast requests were linked to brake preservation, which struggled due to an overly aggressive setup on a track that's notoriously tough on brake temperatures. This situation limits the driver's ability to attack, defend position, and fully exploit the traction and stability that, in theory, the chassis should be able to offer. With a start to the championship well below expectations and marked by difficult weekends, Ferrari finds itself dealing with a car, the SF-25, that has only shown flashes of potential. Structural limitations have compromised its consistency, and its operational window is extremely narrow. Despite the challenges, the team has chosen not to halt the car's development, convinced that there is still much to extract from a project that, while imperfect, has not yet reached the end of the line. A significant decision came in mid-June when Ferrari officially stopped wind tunnel testing of the SF-25 to make room for the first model of the future 2026 car, which will have to comply with a very different set of technical and aerodynamic regulations. This marks a conceptual shift, but it doesn't mean the current car has been abandoned. On the contrary, Ferrari's engineers continue to work actively on track and in the simulator to improve the short-term competitiveness of the SF-25. In this context, the decision to invest further resources for in-season development of a car that has already ended its wind tunnel cycle is a sign of the team's confidence in the project. The goal is to address some of the car's most obvious flaws, introducing targeted updates to enhance strengths that have already emerged, especially when running on low fuel, such as in qualifying and the final stages of a race. Ferrari's new developments should reduce the car's reliance on lift and coast, and allow for greater strategic freedom during races, particularly in terms of skid block wear. They should also improve the overall balance of the car under high downforce conditions. These updates won't definitively solve all the issues, some of which may never be completely eliminated, but the team hopes they will help close the gap to direct rivals, especially on circuits where a greater setup compromise is required. The summer period will therefore be a crucial phase in determining how much the SF-25 can evolve and whether the technical updates will allow the team to tackle the second half of the season with increased competitiveness. Meanwhile, work in the wind tunnel is now fully focused on the 2026 car. With the arrival of new regulations that will radically change car dimensions, aerodynamic philosophy, and power unit efficiency, Ferrari has chosen not to waste time. The goal is to enter 2026 with a car built on solid foundations, the result of long, structured, and thorough work. The fact that aerodynamic testing of the new chassis began as early as June is a clear sign of long-term planning. This decision wasn't particularly rushed, despite a disappointing 2025 season, and it highlights the importance of the current development phase. In fact, between June and the end of July, some of the most critical decisions will be made regarding the 2026 project, including key areas like suspension and aerodynamics.